Good evening. I think we're live. Happy Monday to everyone listening on watching on the internet. I am Kevin Kimble, and this is the Culture Network State of the Union. Again, I'm Kevin Kimble. I'm your host. I'm the executive director of the Southern Christian Leadership Global Policy Initiative and the CEO and founder of the Financial Services Innovation Coalition. Tonight, my guest is Pierre Bagley, filmmaker extraordinaire, civil rights leader extraordinaire, and a good friend. And our subject tonight is going to be one I think you all want to hear, and Pierre has a great perspective, which is Black America and the new media landscape. Uh, what's old is new again, I guess, is the subtext on that. So, Pierre, before I jump in with hard questions, do you want to do an intro on yourself? I mean, I could talk about your biography, but I only have an hour, so I couldn't. I don't want to do
No,
all
it's
that.
cool. And you're very kind, Kevin. First of all, it's really an honor and a privilege to be with you. And I say that because you've been doing this hard work mostly your whole career while still being a great attorney and a great lobbyist on Capitol Hill. And it's how I met you. So I think, well, we have to get in here and help you do what you do. And so I'm a filmmaker, been a filmmaker my whole life. I was an affirmative action hiree. $1.65 an hour, which was the start of my career in this business too long ago. But I moved to France about 7 years ago, frankly, shortly after Donald Trump was elected. I felt like it was just getting too close. I was the film commissioner of Washington, D.C. during Barack Obama's last year. And I went from being a wonderful electric environment of getting things done and people working together to this strange environment. And so I asked the French to accept me over as an artist, and they gave me basically a full artist visa. So I have all the rights of a French filmmaker, and I found the French to be my soul brothers and sisters. And I say that because they are our soul brothers and sisters.
Mhm.
And I would encourage people to continue to reach out because that's the future of our people.
Well, before I want you to touch on the new project you're starting with the French, with the sister city in LA, because you've got a Helly background. So give us a few minutes on that, and then that prompts we're gonna have
Well, many people don't know that Bordeaux is a sister city of Los Angeles for the last 60 some odd years. And they're very serious about that relationship. And I was very fortunate to be able to put together a proposal that we just presented to the mayor of Bordeaux that basically opens up a pipeline: music, soul food, art, and cinema. And we're going to bring hundreds, if not thousands, of Los Angelinos. And it's open to all of America. But more importantly, I want to open a pipeline so we can see what I was privileged to see. I think we don't travel, we're not exposed. And I think when you'll see, you'll understand why Baldwin, Simone, and Baker came here over 100 years ago and why they found their inspiration. I think the French are amazing people. They're flawed like us, but they've been fighting this fight for centuries. And I think you will see a whole different phase of them. And I think this festival, which will be right now, and we haven't gotten total approval because there's an election that's got to happen, but the mayor and his people have responded very positively. I think LA, and this is very new, just is 2 days old, but the goal is to open up a pipeline and start having these young brothers and sisters and old brothers and sisters. When I say brothers and sisters, I'm not talking just race. It's soul to soul. That's the name of this festival, soul to soul, at street level, because all of us come from the street. And that's where art happens. That's where fashion happens. As you know, hip hop is still from the street, and blues. So we're going to open it up, and we're gonna have the city. The mayor's already given us locations that aren't even open to the public, and I'm talking about exquisite Versailles kinds of properties. So it just goes to show, Kevin, that sometimes we have to keep dreaming, but we have to keep acting, and that's what you and I have believed in. We can't just talk about it; we got to be about it. And everything sounds like a little rhyme, and I don't mean to do that. But the people who know me, I've never not tried. Everything I've ever done, I wasn't. frankly, I had to try because there was no encouragement for a Black filmmaker, particularly someone who didn't want to be a performer in front of the camera, but someone who wanted to say what was going on behind the camera, which is where the power is, frankly.
Well, you said something very important in the first part of this, which is congratulations, by the way, on the whole accomplishment.
Thank you.
But you said your first job was affirmative action hire, but you're still fight. You have not shied. Most people who got affirmative action over the last 50 years shy away from the fight. Like, for instance, when they sued to stop affirmative action at Harvard, none of the Harvard graduates stood up and said, "Hey," Black Harvard graduates stood up and said, "Hey, this was something we all did." Or Black people who got government contracts through affirmative action, none of them fought when the Department of Transportation got rid of the DBE programs, or the fact that all these cities are getting rid of it. So I think it's really commendable that you have not forgotten or shied away from that affirmative action effort or avenue that you were able to take. So I want to congratulate you on that, because a lot of your brethren are not willing to do it. So here's the hard question. This is the question we started this when you and I were talking a couple of weeks ago. 50 Cent just did a documentary on P. Diddy. You just did a finished documentary on Lexington, Kentucky, the discrimination and the destruction of Black property. And you've done a lot of work in that space. Why is it that, I know why, but does it strike you as odd or strange or problematic that a story like the P. Diddy ratchet story can get told, but all of the 1,200 Black cities who were destroyed in America can't have their day in the sun? So I'll drop that on your lap.
I thank you for that, Kevin. I think it's a great question, because I think, we talk about power, hard power is in war and bullets and bombs and tanks. We talk about soft power. And we Black people in America have really given America its ability to talk about its soft power, the land of opportunity and bootstraps and all that thing. But if you talk to Martin Luther King, he would say we didn't even have a boot to put a strap in, but yet we bootstrapped, right? Yeah. And so here we are now in the 21st century, and I get it. Where America is a hardcore capitalist society, so nothing is free. And since we were born with nothing and we had to make something out of nothing, those of us who's gotten a little bit of something, it's really hard to let it go. But more importantly, it's hard to live. I mean, nobody wants to be homeless or die from lack of health care. And you want the best for your kids. So it's a hard place to be, because I was lucky because I was kind of successful in terms of my financial success early in my career. It gave me a sense of how frightening it is when you buy a Ferrari, which I'm embarrassed to say I did do early, because I could and I did it. But you realize what a trap it is. And what I had to do was start getting that off of me. And it's ironic that I wound up in France, because that's a whole nother show. But I would just tell you, I didn't know anything about France. I had never been here. We literally found it on Google Maps at Bordeaux. But I didn't understand the healthcare system because I had no expectation to be able to participate. Right. And within, and I came right before COVID. It is the best healthcare system. It's education through college for free, right? You cannot kick somebody out of their home if it's cold. You cannot turn off their power. And my point to you is all of this goes to the P. Diddy story and the story I did in Lexington about redlining, which is institutional. The government literally was in the intentional business of stopping us from gaining assets. They created the ghettos as they exist in America. I think it's ironic that Trump talks about Chicago and Los Angeles. And it's like, well, your ass created it. That's why it exists. And you're making damn sure that we can't get out, because when you have no equity in your home, because you cannot gain equity, who wants to go to those schools and live in those areas? Nobody. Yeah. My father and mother, my mother was a domestic house cleaner, and she was the smartest, most principled human being I've ever known. I am my mother's son. And I can tell you this because it sounds like I'm off the subject, but when America decided, okay, we want to tell the real story how Black people wasn't even included in the big deal. We were intentionally discluded, and we talk about this in this documentary, from the big deal. Coming from World War II, we couldn't get a home, a mortgage, or insurance. And if you did let Black people live too close, the white people couldn't get it. That is, Google it, right? So I say all that when you come forward, America's afraid of the truth. And so they'd much rather 50 Cent. And I ain't mad at 50 Cent. And I'm mad at P. Diddy for blowing such a unique opportunity on bullshit, right? So here we come. I'm trying to tell a story, and it's very difficult. And that project is a trouble project, because in the middle of it, Trump won the election. And I think the politics went crazy, and I ain't mad at nobody, but we're still struggling over how it's going to get out, who's going to get it out, and all that. But they got out that P. Diddy thing almost as soon as he went to jail. Right. And I think that's the point, Kevin. You know, it's when all of us are starving and you give us a little bit of meat, and the choice is, do you feed your family with that meat, or do you pass it by and then try to tell the truth? That's a tough place to be. And I think that's what America's so easy to do, those bitches and hoes things, and make everybody argue about what kind of murderers we are, the murder rate. They don't talk about that we invented blood plasma and built America and died for America and raised America's kids and cooked for America's kids.
Wrote the Terminator and all that. Yeah, right. So we talk about all these lawsuits and all the efforts to like reverse affirmative action, all these other things that we were trying to take advantage of. Is that why you don't see any Black billionaires engaged in the civil rights struggle?
Oh, absolutely. Well, look at the white folks, right? I mean, if Jeff Bezos.
I lost you for a second. You went mute. No, it's breaking up. Try again. Try. Go ahead. No, I can't hear you. We're having to say it. Try it again. No, it's breaking up. Yeah, it's like you got a lag or some kind of technical issue. I mean,
Now, how's this?
There you go. There you go.
Okay. See my little technical background. That was on my iPhone microphone that it chose. So now I'm on the computer. So we can move now, right?
You got backup. You got a backup. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So what was the question? I'm sorry.
So we're talking. So is the reason no Black billionaires are engaged in this whole thing, from the civil rights aspect to the media aspects?
Well, it's funny. If you look at the white billionaires, right, and almost trillionaires, look what happened to Elon Musk when they got sideways with the government. Look at Tim Cook is handing the president golden apples and shit, right? This is the president of one of the largest, wealthiest companies on the planet, Apple. And then you've got Bezos, right? And my point is that pressure, if Bezos and Cook can't stand up to him and Elon Musk can't stand up to the American government, what's a Black billionaire going to do when and Trump, who knows, I mean, he has a history of this. He it's very quick. Just mess with your money. And when you have cash flow, right? So we're vulnerable. And we're vulnerable. And honestly, I want to start talking about solutions, because I think we all know that people of color are in trouble in America. Ethnic people, and all of a sudden it was cool when white folks was migrating all over the planet, and now people of color, which by the way are migrating due to climate change and a lot of things that had to do with things that had nothing to do with us. As we started to migrate looking for better lives for our families, suddenly that's a problem, And so I think that this Black billionaires, bless their hearts, I wouldn't want to be one, because you'd have to be on your knees, and your knees, you need knee pads today to be a Black billionaire. but the answer is to do what our forefathers did when they only had no choice, was to empower ourselves. And look, we don't have to close ourselves off anymore to be a Black-owned business. You know, 80% of America agrees with us because they're middle class to poor people.
Right.
And the bulk of us are middle class to poor people. There is no billionaire class except for 2 or 3 people, and that's a fragile existence, right? So it's like, I feel sorry for a very, very wealthy Black person, because you really have no choice but to bend your knee and keep it bent, because you cannot now rely on the very thing that got us there, which was our moxie and our resilience and our innovation. Now they're talking about crypto and all this other bullshit that we don't understand. It's not something we have intrinsic value. So I think this is an excellent time to begin to look at, as John Lewis said, he talked about good trouble. This is time for good trouble 2.0. You know, because they did everything they could do the American way. And they took us, America, they took us as far as they could take us. But I think we've now got to begin to do what people have done in issues when they decide that they don't like Amazon or whatever they don't like. They quietly change their buying habits. They quietly decide what they're going to do. And that's people of goodwill. That's not a Black person or a brown person or an Asian person. We're all in the same boat. And they got us fighting each other over this thing called race. And it's not a race issue at all. There's probably 1,000 people who are running the whole America, therefore the world. And I don't even know if it's 1,000, but compared to 340 million people, I think that's a tiny fraction of a percentage.
Yeah, totally. Well, so you're gonna talk about result, we'll talk about actions. Like, let's dive in a little bit on this. There's been a lot of time erasing our history. Right? I mean, so the media-wise are spending a lot of time. AT&T there's a big issue because AT&T just got rid of their DEI program, which we can talk about DEI a little bit. But so they want to be able to get government contracts. Fine. But if we keep erasing our history, I mean, we have to. Do we have to fight that fight, and how do we fight that fight? I mean, do you think it's not that big of a deal, or is it something we need to focus in on, trying to make sure they don't eliminate all the damage that they've done? Like, we can't, like the governor of Maryland vetoed a reparations bill. I don't think not understanding that you have to keep telling your story to justify any remedies. But am I wrong, or how does that fit into your philosophy with the work you did in Lexington and others?
Well, it's funny because you're right about erasing the little bit of history we were able to finally get, right, in terms of the truth. But I think the truth of us, like, honestly, I'm so ignorant of our history. I think most of us are ignorant because it wasn't taught to us. It's not considered a cool thing to do. It's not welcomed in America. So the first thing before we start erasing it, we have to at least begin to unearth it and make sure it's told, because there's so much we don't know. I mean, I'll give you a quick example. I was a Whitney Young scholar at Arizona State University, and I did not even know who Whitney Young was. And I was an academic pre-med student, right? Because I was raised in Arizona. You know, I don't even know if I knew about the Urban League, except I'd hear sometimes when they were passing out food or something like that. And I felt like the Urban League, I'm not disparaging them, but I had no idea who Whitney Young was. And it really forced me, that was the beginning of me when I realized how ignorant I was. I made it a plan. I had the good grace to meet Hugh Price at the time in the 90s, who was chairman of the president of the National Urban League in New York. And I thought, well, I'm a storyteller. So I can't ask for my whatever it was, 100,000, 10,000, whatever it was. And this is a nonprofit trying to help us. And I just joined hands with them and said, listen, I can give you my talent. I can give you my, my wages, since they've been taken from us. And so it's a tough thing, Kevin. And it's such an incredible subject right now, this quote unquote erasure, because you can see America's intention today. You know, I think in the whole arc of America, you know, it was incrementally getting better for us and the country, because as we rose, we took America with us. You know, the best example, and I don't mean to change the subject, but Michael Jordan just won the NASCAR deal yesterday.
You won the case,
Right. And this is Michael Jordan, the only black guy in NASCAR, which is used to be a Confederate, you know, white folk running around in circles as fast as they can sport. He loves it. I ain't mad at him. He comes in there and changes the game when the 80% of the other owners wouldn't even join him.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so he had to fight that fight, and he made NASCAR better, is the point.
Right.
Right. He didn't make it worse. He made it better for the people who love NASCAR and those. And that's the kind of thing like Jesse Owens did. And when he ran in front of Hitler and beat all those Germans who was hopped up on steroids. Right. We have been doing this from day one. So it's a tough thing to talk about our history when they won't even give us the credit. So this goes to Hollywood, and I'm going to let you go because I tend to run on. But
no, go ahead. No, this is good.
Well, I think, you know, we finally have Black storytellers now. We were finally able to have gained, and really within my generation, because I was the first Black person hired behind the camera in Arizona, right? And there wasn't many, there was no Tyler Perry's, there was none of that, and it was just too early. So now we have the ability to tell our stories. And I'm not mad at a good love story and a good basketball story, but we don't even know our own history. And frankly, our audience is enough to support any of the projects we do, which is how I've been able to do what I've done. 90% of my money that I've made has been aimed toward the urban buyer.
How Perry makes his money, right? I mean, that's how he makes his money, the urban.
Yeah, but people don't know that Fox Network started that way. Fox Network started as a urban.
The WB started that way too, didn't it?
WB and UPN. It's called an urban strategy, and it's very simple. Black people buy disproportionate to their income, and they're disproportionately loyal. And so they could take them little bullshit shows, put no money in it. As long as we saw ourselves, that was good enough for us, whether it's Good Times or whatever it was they were doing, we would support it because we knew what the deal was. Right. And they got those networks rolling, and then they move it into the mainstream. So my point is that audience is our audience. That customer is us. So we've got to come back now. And again, it's not a Black thing, it's people of goodwill. You know, but I can't ask to make $20 million a film because that's not going to work. That economics don't work. But, you know, the question is, if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
Yeah. No, that's why I asked you to come on. I mean, we do seem to be in a place where the people who can aren't, and we've got to figure out a strategy. I mean, so we talk about solutions, like, what is the strategy? I mean, do we crowdfund some of this stuff? I mean, like, you know, how do you, I mean, you've got the mayor of Bordeaux, so you're doing better than the rest of us. You've got a backer there, but how do we get more documentaries made? How do we?
Well, there you go. Well, capital is agnostic, right? I mean, there's no American capital and Chinese capital and French capital. Capital is capital. Yeah. Gold is gold, right? So it's funny. Hip hop is probably the largest brand on the planet, just like R&B was, right? And just like sports. And I'm doing some other things. For example, I'm starting to work with some NFL players as we speak. And these are not the big starting guys, right? And there's nothing wrong with them. I'm talking about these are guys who are young, 25 to 30, who realize they're looking for ways to invest in their community because they're tired of being performers. Essentially, it's like a new plantation, to be honest. Yeah. You know, they call those people owners. They look at your ass, see how fast you run. If you get hit, you get hurt. Next one up. Next one. And those guys, you know, they haven't been properly educated because they've been focused on being extraordinary athletes, and they are. Yeah. But the price they paid was their education. So, you know, and so my point is there is a way to do this. And I think people like you, Kevin, is why I can't tell you enough. If I had $10 million, I would say, let's give it to Kevin and work backward. I'm serious, because you're on Capitol Hill, right? And then we can take that $10 million. Look, we started so much with so much less. Tyler Perry, all of them, 50 Cent, he was shot 9 times. Now and I ain't mad at him. He's a very smart entrepreneur. And I'm not mad at him. I'd like a good shoot 'em up gangster film like everybody else, but that can't be. What he doesn't realize, you come to France.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear. Go ahead. I hear.
When you come to France, my French friends said to me, Pierre, we don't see people like you.
Right.
And I'm talking about people like you, Kevin, and people like Tracy, your assistant, and people like all throughout Washington, D.C. and L.A., because somebody else is making our stories. And that humiliation goes right to the redlining bullshit and the erase DEI. They've been doing it quietly and humiliating us. And people don't realize when Norman Rockwell, who did that story of Little Ruby Bridges, that last painting, he was fired from the Saturday Evening Post because he would no longer paint people in a disparaging way. The Saturday Evening Post said, you can't show Black people like that. You have to show them in a servitude. And Norman Rockwell, Mr. All-American.
I did not know that.
Right. Illustrator, right? So that tells you how powerful and how intentional America has been to keep making us buffoons, and we can't speak and we can run fast and we can dance well, right? They'll pay $10,000 to watch us run fast. And you have these universities. What can we do? We can quietly stop sending our kids to these schools who are erasing DEI programs. And the only reason why Alabama or Utah or A&M is a force, because we're playing sports and we put them on the map and we're making hundreds of millions of dollars. And here's the deal. Just go to the competing school. Go to a school that's more friendly. We don't have to do the Solomon thing. Right. So it's those things. When somebody tells you who they are, as Maya Angelou used to say, believe them. Right. When they tell me they don't want DEI, it's like, okay, you know what you do? You quietly tell your son, don't play at A&M. Don't play at Florida. Because first of all, they're going to use you up and throw you away, because it's slavery.
Right.
When you can buy and sell a person, remember, during slavery, the value of a slave was more valuable than gold or land from day one, right? So to this day, the same thing. It's like, if they're paying me $10 million, they must be making a big
10 times.
Why don't we think about those economics? Or at the minimum, don't play for them. Just quietly go to UCLA or go to anywhere else that is friendly to our culture. Just friendly. We don't even have to be left or right. Somebody thinks you're a monkey, don't go there. It's that simple.
What the Michael Jordan thing brought up another, as we're talking about this, like, he sued because he had a very specific business interest, and that was smart on his part. We're talking about the billionaires who spend all their money, like getting rid of affirmative action and all those things. And it seems like or even the AT&T's getting rid of theirs. No one's suing. Like, we can't get Black business people to sue, or even in Hollywood, or the only place that actually does this is in sports. I guess NCAA got sued by those players to open up so they can actually get paid for their work. But how do we, when you talk to other Hollywood, I know you work with some famous people in Hollywood. When you talk to them, what do they say to you about why they don't sue Sony or these other big?
Because you can't bite the hand that feeds you. It's that simple. Michael Jordan was successful. Number one, his suit was about that charter agreement, which all the owners suffered, right? He really was one out of, 20 some odd owners of franchises that was a non-deal. And it was something that was institutional, and he attacked it, but he also had the money to do it. So those becomes the problems when you say, well, in Hollywood, Hollywood, it's been a constitutional fight. In 1949, I think, when the studio owned the theaters and all that, there was a Supreme Court decision that said they had a monopoly, and they basically broke it up and put it right back together again.
Right.
I mean, so if you want to work in the business and you want to be, decent and be, you got to go through Hollywood. But now with with the platforms we have, I mean, I was going to say maybe you can't make $100 million, but the truth is, I don't think $100 million versus $200,000. Like, it's not, our people are at stake here. And I think the people who are smart, they will find a way to make $100 million. I'm not mad at them, but we have people who are actively hunting us and are saying to us, your DEI is our hope and our promise, and the only thing we could ask America to do, and it is reneging on it, just like they did Jim Crow and after the Civil War. So my thought is, we can't keep asking, and Hollywood, wherever it is, we have got to start supporting each other. And I know even Farrakhan has been talking about that forever, but it was at a time when there was a battle between the traditional civil rights people and the more sort of radical or whatever. But that's when we thought America would eventually, as Martin Luther King said, that the arc of justice turns slowly, but it turns the right way. Well, it's then flipped all the way back. And I'm not hopeful. I mean, seriously, do we have another 20 years to try to bend that shit back the other way?
Well, maybe 70, maybe a lot longer than that. But let me ask you this question about the Hollywood piece. Should the actors who do have some money, should they get together and start to sue for antitrust violations against some of these big mergers that are taking place? Because all these mergers are cutting out opportunities, I assume, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but like Disney's bought up all the streamers. Like there are very few places for you to put your work out there or to get funding for your work. So should they be looking at lawsuits for that? I mean, do they have a case to stand on?
Well, they have like, I'm not a lawyer, but all I'd say, Kevin, is that when you have 4 studios that are basically producing everything in the world, right? And they're paying you $5 to $15 to $20 million a film that takes you 2 months to do. That's a tough deal. And remember, Hollywood has become very anti-labor. They've had almost 1 in a century strikes here with the Writers Guild, the Directors Guild, because they were caught basically packaging and having their own private equity funds. And I'm talking about agencies. So this is like me hiring an agent, finds out the agent is running, and this is Endeavor, a $400 million private equity. And I'll give you a good example. When Khashoggi was murdered, the Washington Post journalist, the Saudi Arabia had given Endeavor, and I'm giving you round numbers, roughly $400 million. And Endeavor quietly returned their money because they knew it was not going to be taken well by the left wing and the creators, right? But it tells you how big a fund. Now, this is a talent agency, right? People are supposed to be working for me that are running a private equity fund that's so big they could quietly give back $400 million.
So can you explain it for a second? They're an agency. So they were agents, and they had a fund that was invested in movies in the studio.
Yeah, a private equity fund, right? I mean, they were right there with Warner Brothers and everybody else because that's what the banking instrument is for film. And the point is, I'm not mad at it, but if you're working for me, which is what they're supposed to be doing, working for Tom Cruise or whatever, they were really the boss. They had total control of your pay and your deal. And yet your only person who was putting your deal together was your agent. So the Writers Guild, for example, fired the whole industry over this one issue. Now they had to divest to 20%, but they still have 20% interest in billions of dollars of funds. And my point to you is, when you ask about should they sue, well, talk about biting the hand that feeds you. And that doesn't include if you get blacklisted. And we know about Hollywood and blacklisting during the communist scare. I mean, there were, great award-winning writers who had to, leave America and change their names and everything else. So my point is, the option now is, look, I think the market now, they're fighting to hold on to that pipe, and there are many pathways to do this. I think the first thing is, like they said, when you, as Angela, Maya Angelou said, when you're in a hole, stop digging.
Yeah.
We have to first realize that this is not a black problem. This Trump thing is way bigger than black folk. Matter of fact, I think we're least affected because we're so used to this bullshit. Like, it's not new.
Yeah.
I mean, like whatever, that ain't our problem. I mean, even Kamala said that. Hey, you guys call us when you get sick. She went out there with a career and all the, with a distinguished track record, and people are talking about her and Donald Trump. So I think my point is, I think those traditional things, Kevin, are no longer effective, because you can see the Supreme Court, the federal court, they're writing the rules to the game. Yeah. The only thing we can do now, but thank God we have become Kevin and Tracy and Pierre, and there are hundreds of thousands, not millions of us professionals now who have track records. We know what to do. We've got to coalesce and start saying, okay, and there's an audience like hip hop. Yeah. Why are we getting 4%? Remember Prince? That's why he said he was a slave. Right. Taylor Swift bought all of her masters back, right? This game is not against us. So we need to build these new coalitions, and these kids are with us. If they need leadership, and somebody says, hey, those musicians that, and hip hop kids are doing it anyway now. Right. Taylor's releasing albums without even going through a record company, but she's one out of a gazillion.
Right. So if we take that, if we were planning for the next 5 years worth of activities, then, how do you do? Is it just a function of outreach? Is it a function of having a plan? Is it a function of having a strategy? I mean, how do you, if you were God and you could make whatever happen, what would be the next thing you would do? What would be
I'd say, God, first of all, God, we'll make this easy, because you've allowed us to be Kevins and Tracy's and Pierre's. You've already sowed the ground. We're not paying attention. We are ready to go. And I say we. I'm not talking about just black folks. Yeah. I'm talking about, first of all, we should be global anyway, right? Mm-hmm. But it's hard to be global when you can hardly make your light bill payment. Right. I've met kids over here, they're exchange students, and they're coming from these universities and they learn French. And I think, God, if I could have known that this exists, even if I didn't like it, I could say, well, I don't like it for this reason. My point to you is that these kinds of shows, Kevin, and people like Roland Martin and these brothers out there who are just out there doing their own thing, right? I think we need some leadership. We need to go back. Now, it's not a Martin Luther King or a John Lewis. They did it. They got us here. Mm-hmm. But now we're credentialed. We've got track records. We've got, we need a plan. And I think we can do it just like our forefathers did it when we had to, because we were segregated. We were not allowed to go to a white bank or buy anything, right? So I'm not suggesting we resegregate, but I'm saying we should vote our interests. The people who believe in what we believe in, who consume what we want to make, it's not a black thing. It's a French thing. It's an Italian thing. It's a Spanish thing. It's a Mexican thing. I think South America should come into this coalition. These people are being blown up for just being in a fishing boat. Right. I mean, it's crazy what's happening, how one nation can disparage and then murder people. It's murder.
Well, how would you, so how do we organize? I mean, so you've got that. So what's the first one you say, we're going to not ever we're not going to go to AMC movie theaters for next year? Or
no, we don't need to go to, because what we're seeing is really mostly things that are centric to us. And I say that meaning that, unfortunately, and I don't want to disparage Robert Johnson and Sheila Johnson, but Sheila has apologized over making BET. That was a lost opportunity for us, and it remains so. They need to make them stop using BET, because that was never reflective of what we could be, not even close. But my point is, it exists. Those people cashed out for billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So we know, even in its formative, look how lucrative that was. So this is not a charity. I think we need to find some backers. I don't care if it's how we get that money. And we need a plan, and we need to be accountable, just like we'd be to your family and your boss, and and we hit our numbers. But we're already doing it, Kevin. We're just sort of on the plantation. We're like sharecroppers, where we're in a relationship with the money where we can never have ownership and we can never have control of our own product. And we're doomed to being perpetual workers for the plantation. So very simple, and you saw in the South, there's Black folk got together and they bought up as much land as they could do, and they're sustainable. So I think we start small. We start small, and we've got to find some equity as in investors, however we get it, and we need a plan. But I would say to you, the quickest way for us to get this out is through story. It start to tell the world who we are, because the world doesn't know who we are. America has been very effective in making us what they think they have, but they haven't worked, because I'm in France and the French get it, and you can move all around the world. You ask the Chinese. So I think we need a relatively small amount of money. If you ask me about the God question, I'd say give us $15 or $20 million. Let us, and we don't need the money in the bank. Let's make a plan for sustainability. And we basically redo that whole thing all over again. It's a redo, right? We do a Black network, but now we go out to people like Taraji P. Henson. And Taraji worked for me on a very small film because she loved the story. And she also, I think now the talent in LA knows people like Iola Davis. She's never going to achieve one of those
an Oscar.
No, it's not the Oscar. I'm trying to talk about the other white stars of her ilk.
I know you talk about
Devil Wears Prada.
Meryl Streep.
Right. I'm not saying she ain't as good as Meryl Streep. She's probably better, but this ain't Meryl Streep's problem.
Right.
This is the fact that people, that's what we've been conditioned to do. Right. And my thought is, listen, Iola, bring your talent, and we don't need all of it. You could still give 75% to Hollywood, make some real money, which, by the way, you look at people like Keanu Reeves and Brad Pitt, they're doing that very quietly. They work with a small group of creatives, and they almost for free. And then they go do a big Hollywood film for $30 million. Right. And so we can be very practical. I think we need more conversations like this. We find allies and we make a plan, because listen, you're doing okay. I mean, you're on this program, and I know you don't make any money, if very little, but you're still sustainable. I'm sitting here in Bordeaux, and no matter what happens, don't cry for me, because I'm going to be okay. So my point is, we cannot do things for money only. We have to do things now with some percentage. Like I said, if you wanted to go to A&M or play for the Dallas Cowboys, when Jerry Jones gets mad at this player because he thought he could do a deal with him, not his agent and lawyer at dinner, right? So the message is, I'm going to do business with a billionaire like Pierre, no, right? So I wouldn't want to play for Dallas. And we could quietly, we don't have to make it a big boycott. We quietly just say, those people are not for us. So if you can, don't play for them. If you can, don't go to that school. Why? They think we're monkeys.
Do you think there's still room in the media sphere for like another WB to come along and grow, like a Black-owned WB? Is there space in that ecosystem?
No, because the landscape has been, as you see, it's dominated. Now you see what's about to happen with, these billionaires, trillionaires fighting over this landscape. We have to do what we've always done. We made the blues when there was no blues. We made hip hop, right? We made R&B because, we've always told our story, and that's a compelling story. But we did it with joy, and we did it with soul, and we did it with rhythm. And I think we just get back to that, right? I mean, we are soulful people, and we're not the only soulful people. That's why we were successful. When we sang the blues, the world heard us sing the blues.
Yeah.
Therefore, Nina Simone came to France. She's a little, she called herself a little nappy-headed black girl because she didn't want to be what they wanted her to be.
Yeah.
Josephine Baker was installed in the Parthenon with Napoleon, the only woman in the history of France, right? So my point is, this is a new world. We need to stop talking about 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. We now know that most of America is willing to tolerate Trump. I don't care if they didn't vote for him or not. The fact that you would tolerate a known everythinger, right?
Yeah.
Everything, I don't even have to get right, tells us that that's not a place that's viable for us. And he's doing it by calling us shithole people and monkeys and eating dogs. He's just saying this shit. Right. So in my view, listen, I'm hearing you. I don't want to fuck with you. Excuse me. I don't want to fuck with you. I don't want to fuck with you. I want to deal with people who at least see me as a human being and let me make a track record. So my point to you is, because of technology now, Kevin, there are avenues, but we're not going to be billionaires, maybe overnight, maybe millionaires, but I'm not mad at money. But I think now we could create our own products like we've been doing, and we just have to take a little more risk. But we're able to now because of people like us who should be almost like we have to sign an NDA, only this time we sign a loyalty pledge to soulful people.
Right.
And I say soulful people because this ain't a black thing.
Right.
I think some of these poor white folks don't know what America has in plan for them. The people in Appalachia should know, because I don't know what their excuse is. I know what our excuse is, but all them trailer park people, I don't know what they're. So keep voting for Trump. You guys do that. Let us and the collective us, and I'm talking about the French people, and that's here. They don't even have race. So there's a global market for our product. And we're still trying to get out of DC or LA or Chicago. And I think now all we got to do, like we're doing now, I'm talking to you from Bordeaux, France. Right. And all we got to do is push a button, bro. And I think this will do it. Because, right now we could watch our shit on a cell phone. Right. Like my mother said, if you're saying something, people listen. If you're talking and you're not saying anything. So I think it's real simple. It's like, I heard this is a story, I don't know if it's true, about the bottling of Coca-Cola, that a guy traded a pancake breakfast, and he told the guy at the soda fountain, I'm going to tell you something, give me a pancake breakfast. And the guy said, okay, here it is. And he said, bottle it. Because at the time, soda was only in a fountain. It was never in a bottle, right? That simple idea created bottling. I think this isn't complicated because we already doing it, brothers and sisters.
I was gonna ask you another question, but if it's not that hard, why aren't other people doing it? Like, why does it seem to be such a hard thing to get done?
Well, because we got caught up, and I say this because I got caught up, right? I mean, we're going to school and we're expecting to be treated right, and okay, you hire us, and we've been trying to rationalize us. And look, you can't you cannot. I'm not going to argue about whether I'm a human being or not. I'm not going to argue about whether or not if I happen to be transgender or gay. That's not a two-sided argument. I have a right to exist. I'm a human being. I'm not going to debate somebody and try to. We got to stop that. And look, we were doing it to get us where we are now. And this is not a Trump thing. I think you can see that there are people on the right who believe that they will blow this place up to make sure we don't succeed. And so it's like, okay, so now we go with the plan, and it's doing more of this kind of thing. And I'm calling it about disruption, as in disruption, right? And what's different, we exist now where, Kevin, I don't know about your family, but I'm the first generation of my family to even go to college. Unfortunately, I lost a brother to being shot in the head from a white vigilante in Arizona. My mother was murdered playing cards in a neighborhood. Right? Because we lived in the wrong zip code. So when you ask what's been going on, that shit's still going on somewhere in America. Right. And yes, it's some of our fault, but it's intentional. America, with redlining and its policies, that's what they wanted. So the fight can stay localized and nobody, we're just, it's like the Hunger Games. games. We eat each other's ass up. So this newness exists that we now have. We see Trump has proven that half of America is willing to vote on racist policies, period, not in their own best interest.
Right. Well, let me ask you this question. So if we're having this conversation, we're thinking about it this way, should we go to Black film schools and try to find talent to make? I mean, is that what you'd spend the $1 million on? Like, would we try to, I mean, what would be the next step? I mean, you have a process. Like you're doing this thing in Bordeaux. I mean, do you reach out to a bunch of schools and try to get some of the talent from there, like, and get them to work on that project? I mean, how do we get this next level?
I think it's not Black filmmakers per se, even though, of course, the few that there are out there, of course, we try to support them, but it's people who want to tell stories about people. Mm-hmm. It's almost like America has to be deprogrammed, because they're programmed, they're hooked on that we're somehow inferior no matter what we do. Now we know this to be. When you have Barack Obama that gives us Donald Trump, you know that integrity and intelligence and honor does not matter to them. Right? So that's a new thought to me, Kevin. I mean, my whole life, I believe integrity, honor matter, and I still do. But the point is, we see what that's giving us. So my point is, I think if the questions you're asking, I do it like this festival idea. I put that together based on the same way you put together a business plan. And I think now we need to find, like John Lewis did, we need to find good people of goodwill. And the world is full of us. And now we know that we're in danger. They are literally hunting, not Black people, but gay people, anybody who doesn't fit their bill. So I think the market is coming our way. And by the way, the right, when's the last time you bought anything creative from them? Ever?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, totally.
Right. So we own, I say we, as in the creatives peoples, right? The peoples of the world who do this. So, as long as we have a market that's unlimited in terms of talent, and particularly you open up Mexico and China and Japan and France, and man, I think the world is waiting. Is she giving us a cue?
You guys, let's run out of time. This is great, Pierre. You and I talk a lot, so I wanted to expose the audience to this, and because we talk about not we, but in general, people talk about entertainment. We see the people and we talk about what Trump is doing with the history, but we don't really talk about what our role is in fixing that, because it's a big it's a much bigger thing, I think, than people realize. I mean, they're not doing this for nothing. I mean, they're not spending all this time for no reason. And then I think we've got to find our creatives, and I'll tell you a story. This is a true story. It always bothered me. There was an African-American man in the 1978. He was the number 3 person at the NAACP in Mississippi. He got a job as a manager of a tire factory, and the white guys were like, "You can't have this job because you're Black." And he said, "Well, I'm going to keep this job. It's civil rights, whatever." And so they put a car bomb in his car and blew him up, right, and killed him. And the documentary was made by him, but the people who were making it were not African American. To your point about storytelling, but it doesn't make any sense that we have all these stories to be told, traumatic or otherwise, and we're just not. And those stories are being squashed. And so, because just like the governor of Maryland, who will vote against veto reparations, because they're not tied to the history, some of the stuff has to be told by us. And we've got to figure out a way to make this,
Well, we don't have to remake the model. I think Steven Spielberg did something really great after he did Schindler's List. He created the Shoah Project because he was afraid that story would die when those Holocaust survivors died. So he created a foundation to go film every one of them and their stories, right? And so I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to understand and take America. Listen, America's telling us that we're substandard, blah, blah, blah. We got to take them for their word and say, okay, we're not going to mess with you. We're going to take our talent, our money, our goodwill somewhere that is appreciated. And that's a subtle thing. We're not talking about no marching. I'm talking about doing. And I think the more we reach out to good people. And I don't know how many people's watching this, but we're talking to you. First of all, come back and watch Kevin every week. I'm going to do what I'm going to do because people who know me know my passion is because I'm afraid we're going to run out of time. I'm going to run out of time. Like there's some things.
I will say this about, talk about people doing what they, when I called you, there's Reverend Charles McCullough down in North Carolina, runs the Roanoke Valley Southern Christian Leadership. His incredible history. I mean, he is like the person I pattern myself out, the person who, like, when you say, when people ask me, what can they do? I said, read Charles McCullum's story. You'll know what to do. I mean, he did everything. And you agreed to interview him for a documentary we haven't made yet, but we're going to collect these stories. We talk about the Shore Project. So we are doing that. And I appreciate your being willing to stay up till 2 a.m. to record him. So, anyway.
And listen, we can all do that. We don't have to do these big things. Just do the little things and also care about people and don't put up with this bullshit. Like, don't debate our existence and our integrity and who we are and our history. That is not debatable. We are here. I don't think the world's ever seen the Black American who has endured what we have. And that's why they're trying to keep us on all this other bullshit, which ain't going to pay our bills. Yeah. So we're going to keep this going. The people who know me know I believe this. I am a living example of this, as you are, Kevin, and many of you watching this. We need each other just to support each other and care about each other.
Question: is there, do you have a website, a place where people can find you or find your work? Or
now, I'm not big on social media. As I talk about all this technology, I just feel like it gets used, and people be like, I'll find the people. I've got some good people in Dallas who will do that, but no, it's a short answer. I don't have anything because
tell the audience about the movie. They can see some of your movies. So I definitely, the movie, the golf movie. What's the name of that
From
movie?
the Rough, starring Taraji P. Henson. It was the last film that Michael Clark Duncan did. Tom Felton, who was Malfoy in Harry Potter, who is reprising that role on Broadway as we speak. He's a British. LaToya Luckett, who sang in Destiny's Child with Beyonce, the original Destiny's Child. And I'm very proud of that movie because it's about the first Black woman at Tennessee State to coach an all-men's golf team. And it's based on Katana Starks, a true woman. And the reason why that film, again, I got into it with the people with the money. Because, as soon as we get it, now they want to take it. And it's like, no, you're not taking it, right? So I'm probably always going to be that guy that like when you try to make me bend over too far, that's just not going to work for me. So, yes.
It's From the Rough? What's the name of the movie again?
From the Rough.
From the Rough.
As in playing from the rough. It's a golf movie. I think it's back on Netflix now, but it's been all over. It continues to play.
Any other movies that people did you produce that you want to know people to know about?
I did a piece with Chief Bratton, the first police chief of New York City and LA, the only person to be the chief of police, both right behind the Rodney King riots, about the LAPD changing. Chief Bratton came. He's an Irish guy. Are we still there?
Yeah. So she's just putting up Tracy went and found the flyer for the movie. So that's good.
Okay, cool. So, and I did a documentary about the historical friction between the LAPD and Black people of color in Los Angeles. And it's called LAPD Transforming the Dream. It aired on ABC. Because I'm an independent producer, I'm not prolific because I've had to do everything we're talking about. Kevin had to raise the money, get the distribution. So it takes a while to do that. But so I'm very selective about the things that I can endeavor to start and finish. But honestly, this festival here in Bordeaux, I've got a Blueford High. Oh my God, Blueford High. It's a series of books, graphic novels. Over 12 million books sold. It's being read in schools and libraries right now. The Blueford High series. The guy who wrote the books and publishes them in Philadelphia, and we co-own the rights. So we took that back from Hollywood because they wanted to turn it into shit we didn't want them to do. So we're going to independently produce it, and it's been written since 2000. So the books are still coming out. And that's why I said this NFL player I'm talking about, to find a way to independently finance it. So I'm taking my own advice. That's the best thing I can do.
Well, we'll have to have you back on, Pierre. I mean, thanks for all your time. Thanks for all your work in the fight. It's always inspiring to talk to you. So, again, you guys check out Pierre's movies if you have a chance, and be on the lookout for the Bordeaux event, because I'm coming to Bordeaux. I have a place to stay now, so I'm coming. We're gonna
Come on, bro.
We're gonna come. All right,
Come
thank
on,
you.
bro. I'm serious.
We'll be there. Don't say if you don't mean it, because we'll be there.
No, listen. Bordeaux is a beautiful city. They will love to have all of you there and come here and see what life can truly hold. And by the way, that's what this is all about. And Kevin, I can't tell you, thank you for doing the work that you do. I can't tell you enough. Without you, bro, you're that guy on the wall that we need, and the women there. So I'm very grateful for you, bro.
Appreciate you saying that. Thank you. All right. See you guys next week. Thank you. Good night.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.